Hello, hello, everyone. Good evening, and welcome to our Wednesday evening feminine finance with Mia James. If this is your first time here with us, I just want to say welcome and thank you so much for being on tonight. I really appreciate having you. And we are on every Wednesday. I'm so sorry about this weird background. I don't know what's going on today, but we are on every Wednesday at 8 from 8 to 8:30 Eastern. And right now we are doing a book club and we are reading The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power by Dr. Boyce Watkins. You do not have to have the book, although I do highly recommend it because I will be reading you the book. And what I do encourage you to do is get in the chat. Hey, Juanita. Hey, Virginia. Hey, Natasha. Yes, the chat is working this week because last week we started the book club and the chat was not working. And I live for the chat, y'all. Let me see if I can fix this weird background situation here. Okay. So let me know if you are brand new here in the chat. Hey, Doriel. Good to see you. Thanks for joining. Hello, friend D. What's your name? Welcome. Good evening. So glad to have you. So you haven't missed much. If this is your first time, do not worry. Hey, Nzinga. We are only on the second part of chapter 1. So if you do have your book, go ahead and grab it. I believe we are on page 32. I'm sorry. No, that's me. I'm on page 32. I've read ahead a little bit. We are actually on page 14. And so definitely keep your chat open because I will be asking, different questions. I want to hear your feedback and what your thoughts are because different perspectives help us to all learn because I definitely believe in collective wisdom. And then if anyone actually wants to come on stage with me, I would absolutely love that. So we will jump in. Yes, Jen, the chat is working this week because last week, y'all, I was so sad that the chat was not here. I felt a little alone. All right. So let us know where you're joining us from and um and let us know who do I want y'all to let me know? Let's see. So where are you joining us from? And when you think about Black economic power, what is one sentence that comes to mind when you think about Black economic power? I just like to know people's thoughts. Okay, we got my sister Natasha in South Carolina. Let's see how many states we have covered today. All right, where Brooklyn at? Where Brooklyn at? Normally I am in Brooklyn. However, I am in Texas. I'm in Houston today. Awesome. Then we got Cali. That's where I'm from. We got Nzinga in the Maryland, D.C. area. Awesome. We got Virginia in Maryland. I love it. By way of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Yep, I am by way of Inglewood, California. Awesome. So Natasha says Black economic power is independence. I love that. Absolutely. Deborah, yay, you found us this time. I'm so happy to have you. Excellent. So, this is definitely a family community. So, for those of you who are brand new, this is all about feminine finance. So, we do talk about economic topics, but we also want to talk about them from the feminine aspect, from the heart, because especially as women, we are very much intuitive and we like to make decisions from our heart. And so we will be infusing some of that feminine love into our finances and our values and things of that nature. All right, we got Juanita from Savannah. I'm loving this. Okay, so we got quite a few places represented in here. Okay, so Juanita Natasha, she was in Savannah last weekend. Okay, so let's jump into the book. Thank you all for being here. And again, if you haven't let me know in the chat, let me know what you think that Black economic power means to you. Okay. So we are on page 32. Don't worry if you don't have the book. Like I said, I'm going to read it to you and then I'll give you some questions in between. So, part B, page 32 at the very bottom. If you love someone, you will put money in their pocket. The cost model. Families show their love in different ways. When I was a kid, my grandmother showed love for us by cooking on Sundays. We would go down to grandma's house and she would make a really nice meal that typically involved chicken. In addition to the chicken, there would be macaroni and cheese, potatoes, greens, and even chitlins, which I thought were disgusting. This is a tradition that is held in many families where we show love for one another with food. There's nothing wrong with this tradition, but it isn't just about the food. The food was just an excuse for us to get together and see each other. By gathering on Sundays, we could spend time together and get to know each other's lives. That was special for me growing up, and the tradition continues to this day. This act of providing life giving sustenance and food to our loved ones was a symbolic act to say, I love you, care about you, and want to give you life. I hope you'll allow me to make a suggestion on other ways we can show love to our relatives. So let me know in the chat um, what are some ways that you like to show love to your relatives? I love to know. Oops, you are so right. I am still ahead. Deborah, thank you. I went to page 33. That's the page that I'm on. We're actually on page 14. Okay. So sorry about that. So we're on the ultimate crime is stealing from loved ones, and this includes borrowing money that you don't pay back. So for those of you who weren't here last time at the beginning of the book, it's talked first commandment is always be an asset to your family. So it says, my father is a great man, not always a good man, but a great one. As a great man, he made a lot of tough decisions on behalf of our family and always kept us on code with one another. It is because of my father's ability to make strong decisions that I have a very close relationship with my family to this day. Not much drama, just love and connection. This doesn't happen by accident. Part of this connection was driven by my parents consistently sharing the rules of relationships with my siblings and me. In their minds, there are codes of behavior that family members should follow, and it is entirely unacceptable to violate these codes. One of those codes is stealing from loved ones. In the words of my father, there's nothing lower for a man to do than to steal from his family. Those words stuck with me through the years as I would hear about people getting hooked on drugs and stealing from their relatives. When it came to non-melanated people, I would hear chaotic stories about relatives conspiring to take their parents' fortune or kill a loved one in order to obtain the inheritance. Can y'all believe that? Oh yes, exactly, Natasha. We are so excited that Mr. Bora made it to the chat. So oh, that's awesome, Natasha. So you love cooking for your family. Awesome, awesome. Anyone else? What do y'all enjoy doing? How do you show yourself as being an asset for your family? All right. So think about it. You have a loved one who cares about you so much that they are willing to give you access to their hard-earned money. Okay? They need that money back. And even if they didn't, it's still their money. So let me know in the chat, has anyone ever dealt with someone who had the spirit of entitlement? Is that just me? Because I know that just because, different family members have a perception of me, and I'm just like, well, it's still my money. Like, don't feel entitled to it. Anybody ever had that situation happen before? Okay, thank you, Miss Virginia. Yes. Sometimes because we may be doing well or was perceived to be doing well, our families or sometimes friends, it's not always your family, feel like, okay, well, you got it. But don't assume that, oh, Jen, you need me to call your cousin for you? No, I'm just kidding. So, sometimes people do feel entitled. And especially as women, we're natural givers. And so one thing that when I teach classes, I talk about the importance of boundaries. And so if you have that really big heart and you do like to give, what I encourage you to do is when you're planning your spending plan, if you have to give to people because you feel so compelled and you can't help yourself, give yourself a limit. Right. So say like 200, let's just say I'm just throwing out a random number, 200 a month. And once that $200 is gone, you can't help anybody else because you have to protect yourself. Because otherwise, if you don't have boundaries around helping people, people will continue to take and take and take and take. Right. So that is very important, especially for us with these big hearts. Wow, Deborah, that's crazy. That's okay. I'm so sorry that happened. And you know what? Unfortunately, that is so common that family members take other family members' inheritances, right? And so it's important that we have proper estate planning in place and that, things are done in writing with an attorney, notarized and properly done to avoid things of that nature. So I'm really, really sorry to hear that, Deborah. That's really, yeah. Exactly, Jen. So that can happen. People can take our kindness for weakness, and people do assume. So Make sure that you have boundaries in place. So let's go. We're on page 16 now. To my surprise, I've seen within my own family and others several instances of people borrowing large sums of money from their relatives, okay, and never paying the money back. In some cases, the person would even act as if the loan never took place. So even if you do loan money to a family member, it's okay to write up a contract. Like, just type something up, look it up online. There's free legal documents that you can get online. And have it in writing. Protect yourself, right? Because you worked hard for that money. There is also a situation where the person who borrowed the money starts off extra humble, appreciative, and willing to make any promise. Then, once the money is in their possession, they hide from the other party, not answering phone calls. Anybody ever been ghosted? And even getting angry at them for asking for their money back. This is sick behavior. It's also pathetic and unacceptable. It's one thing if you borrow from a bank or corporation and refuse to pay them back. It's not the best move for your credit score, but that's your personal decision. I don't feel sorry for banks or corporations because they can write their losses off on their taxes. See, we can't do that as people. And many of them are earning billions of dollars. But a person who borrows from a relative and never pays them back is likely an individual who was never taught to care about the pain endured by their loved ones who went out of their way to give them access to their hard-earned money. And so, this is so, so, so important that we do have these boundaries around if we are giving, but also making sure, I don't think any of us on here are, but making sure we're not that person, right? Because people are suffering right now with financial insecurity. People are losing jobs, especially Black women, at very high rates. I know in April it was a record high of Black women losing their jobs. And, especially, imagine as a single mom, right? And, you lost your source of income. That could be a big source of stress. And so, we always want to be a helping hand and asset where we can. So let's see, where are we? They are also participating in the kind of economic drain that leaves many families crippled. These situations may include the man who makes babies and lets his struggling mother pay all the child support, or perhaps the person who keeps getting sent to jail, expecting his family to bail him out. All of this behavior violates the code of family economic ethics. Borrowing money is not the issue. We all have hard times. The problem is that when you borrow money and refuse to pay it back, you're harming your relatives and draining economic resources. You are behaving as a leech who drains the family institution and gives nothing back. To avoid this kind of behavior within your own tribe, you must first ensure that your children are instilled with a strong sense of responsibility to the family. So one thing I am super duper passionate about is educating our next generation, because I was just on another speaking engagement with some of you here. So thanks for joining. And it is so important that we equip the next generation, especially if you are going to pass down an inheritance. Please make sure that your children understand what they are inheriting so that it stays in the family for multiple generations. Because that is the key. It's one thing to obtain it, it's another thing to maintain it. It's easier to obtain than to maintain. And wealth may be passed down, but the mindset and the know-how to maintain the wealth has to be passed down too. That's critical, right? So yes, education and character development. So my bestie in South Carolina, she used to talk about character development. She was like, I want to be a character development specialist. Awesome. Let's see. We said, okay, so we have to first ensure that our children are instilled with a strong sense of responsibility to the family. They should be made aware that what you take, you must replace with interest, even if you are not asked to do so. So borrowing money in the real world ain't free. Now, I know I used to borrow money from my parents when I was young, like a kid, like if I wanted some candy or something, and they said no, and I'm like, can I borrow it until I get my allowance? So, my parents wouldn't charge me interest, but if they did, they did, because that's teaching me that borrowing money is not free, right? And, Dr. Boy says paying interest doesn't always mean a dollar amount. It can mean simply giving back something that is of greater value than what you received. For example, let's assume my cousin loans me $1,000 when I need it most. I make a written informal agreement. So this is what I was talking about before, making sure you put stuff in writing, even if it's with family. He says putting an informal agreement with him via text to repay him by a certain date. I may not pay him interest, but I let him know, hey man, I really owe you one. So maybe he's about to move, you go help him move or something like that. So when it's time for me to repay my cousin, I do all that is within my power to do exactly what I promised him I would do. If I cannot, I apologize, do what I can at the moment, and remain in consistent contact with him until the debt is paid. So there's deeper lessons in this. So in addition to being an asset to our family, we also, in our character, we're learning how to have integrity, because there's no shame in needing help, but it's like, how do we deal with it? If we are the person in need, how do we stay in integrity and make sure that we pay the person back? So we want to make sure we honor our word no matter what type of agreement that we're in. So now we're on page 18. Any thoughts or questions so far? Anybody have any thoughts from the book? Okay, so put them in the chat. Let me know. Ooh, I like that. Okay, so Jen did mention this last time. So Jen was saying that she's working on a trade model type of barter system, which is still in the works. And I've actually, let me know in the chat, has anybody here actually ever bartered for any goods or services besides me? I've bartered before, and it has been fun. So I took it all the way back to the 21st, to the 19th century or whatever. I was like, whatever century that was. And what I did was, so I have a skill, and one of my clients had a skill. And basically, her skill, it is very expensive. And I guess apparently my skill was worth it. She was like, oh yeah, I'll develop a marketing plan for you. And I helped her build her back end systems in her business because I'm very good at automations and all of those things. So now people have people are asking me, they're like, can I pay you to build my backend systems? I was like, oh my gosh, did I just create a new business? I was like, what? But basically, I was able to use something I just do for my own business for somebody else and then get this whole plan out of it. So, okay. So, and Zinga said, okay, this is a good comment. It can be so uncomfortable for people to ask others to put something in writing. Yes, it can be uncomfortable. Absolutely. And again, as our big giving hearts that we have, we also have to protect ourselves. And I know it's uncomfortable sometimes, but in the long run, you may thank yourself for it just in case the person doesn't decide to do the right thing. But I also have a philosophy. If I am going to give people some money, I'm just going to give it to them. I'm not going to let you borrow it. I'm only going to give you what I can afford to just give. Dorielle, what did you barter? Excellent. That's awesome. Dorielle has bartered. Ooh, your husband is. Oh, I love that. Ooh, a value and worth system. This is awesome, Jen. I can't wait for you to learn more about it. Yes, and Zinga, I love bartering. So this is another thing, especially for us. Put a 1 in the chat if you're a business owner. I just want to know who all is a business owner here, especially if you're a solopreneur. A lot of times we are bootstrapping it, right? We're doing all the things, right? We're the accountant, we're the marketer, we're the salesperson, we're this, we're that, right? Maybe you know someone that is really great at what it is that you do, that don't do well, right? Because I like to operate in my zone of genius. So marketing is not my zone of genius. Y'all see, I can't even get this whole background together. It normally works, but today I'm not home, so I don't know what's going on. But find somebody who has a zone of genius for the thing that you need and offer your services. Okay, so we got 1, 2, 3, 4 business owners in here. Okay, wonderful. And so, if there's something that you need, you all may want to drop your website or what you do in the chat, and maybe somebody here and maybe a need that you have, and see if somebody here might be able to barter with you. I mean, I meet wonderful people in Zoom meetings and chats. And I've made friends with them. I've helped them with their businesses. They've helped me with my businesses. I've met people on international trips. So definitely network here. Put it in the chat. What do you do? What do you need help with? And maybe somebody here has the zone of genius that you need, and maybe you can barter. Okay, so Doriel, let me put Doriel on blast. Lock maintenance with someone who does nutritional consulting. Look at that. Lock maintenance, people. We need that. We need our hair together. Ooh, I like that, Virginia. Master your mindset, then master your money. Hey, Olympia, excellent. What put in the chat what type of business you have. So everyone, if you want to find someone, because I know it's a lot of people here with a lot of skills and talents. Drop in the chat. What do you do and what do you need help with? If you feel comfortable, no pressure or anything like that. Right? Because you might be like, I don't know these people. But anyway, let's move on because we got a couple more pages before we finish chapter 1. Because as y'all see, I'm all the way ahead in chapter 2. Okay, let's see if we can finish out chapter 1. All right. I do not squeal away from the phone whenever he calls about the money. I don't yell at him for telling me that he needs his money. I also should be willing to do something to make up for my mistake, like pay him a bit of interest to make us even. After I've repaid my cousin, I now owe him a favor of equal value to the one he did for me. That could mean that I loan him $1,000 when he needs it. But if I can't do that, it means that I come through for him in some other way that allows me to over deliver to my loved one as a sincere expression of my complete gratitude. This kind of economic reciprocity is critical for any family that wants to develop a healthy financial ecosystem. Basically, it means that everyone is pulling their weight, which keeps any one relative from having to do all the financial work. Does anybody here have any type of family business where you all are investing together, maybe in real estate or doing stock market together, or just creating kind of like a family LLC? Anybody doing that? That's pretty cool. Okay, so let me tell you what kind of business owners we got in here. So first of all, Miss Virginia, I know we're slightly off topic, but we're not, because we're talking about economic empowerment, and we can create our own ecosystem with just the 12 of us that are in here, right? So Virginia, she has a podcast called Wings of Wisdom, and she features experts, right? And so you can meet all kind of amazing people on her podcast if you're looking for a certain type of expertise. And then Jen, she's working on a bartering system, but she also is creating, and I'm probably not going to do it justice, Jen, but she's basically creating a platform for Black businesses to find, or if you want to find a Black-owned business in different areas, you can go through her platform. And Zinga, she says she's a landlord, an educational consultant, and a day trader. Okay, she is doing the thing. I'm here for it. Olympia is a life coach. And then Zinga is training her children on the stock market. Yeah, I'm working with my nephew now. He's been doing his Dr. Boyce Watkins workbooks. Okay, that's awesome. So Jen has an investment partner. That's amazing. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Okay, so if you want, you can also put in the chat maybe something you need. What is a service that you need? This is wonderful. So we got to start teaching our kids, y'all. This is the key, is getting that next generation ready. Okay, so let's see if we can finish out chapter 1 so we can be on chapter 2 next week. It says this kind of economic reciprocity is critical for any family that wants to develop a healthy financial ecosystem. Basically, it means that everyone is pulling their weight, which keeps... Oh, I read that part already. Also, it means that your collective economic situation is improving over time. So this is a collective mindset, us working together as a family. Rather than being drained by those who feel that everybody owes them something and they don't owe anybody anything. Besides being a drain on family wealth, financial scamming of our loved ones also creates various forms of economic trauma. So, if you have experienced any type of financial trauma, definitely check out my past lives from earlier this month, because this is Mental Health Awareness Month. This trauma creates fear and a lack of trust in one another. So if y'all haven't read this book called The Willie Lynch Letters, basically especially for African Americans in this country, descendants of slaves, we've basically been bred not to trust each other. It's intentional and it's purposeful. In some cases, the trauma can be so bad that we rather do business with a stranger than to economically connect with our own. Trauma and fear are enemies to a growing economy the same way they are enemies to healthy relationships. All relationships, economic, emotional, and otherwise, require trust, connection, and vulnerability. Key things that are important, especially, when we're led from our heart, which are nearly impossible in a traumatic space that makes you feel the need to socially distance yourself from others. So, in order for us to be able to work together economically, we definitely have to heal our relationship so we can have that trust, that connection, and that vulnerability. Because money is a very vulnerable thing, right? I know I grew up being told, you don't discuss how much you make, etc., etc. All right, D. Yes. Oh, thank you, Jen. Yes, we definitely got to dismantle this indoctrination because it really hurts our community. I know I go out of my way to support Black owned businesses. Like I will drive farther. Like I drive across town. I live in Brooklyn and I drive way on the other side of Brooklyn to go to a Black owned business. Yes, I do. All right. So the family with intelligent children who all leave to go to work for their oppressors. Woo! Been there, right? I'm guilty. I must remind you that your family, as it is a multi-million-dollar asset. This concept blew my mind when I read this. If you don't believe me, consider this. Imagine if you have a family of 4 children with 2 parents, all of whom grow up and work for the man. Let's assume that each of the individuals in this household earns $60,000 a year. If you multiply 60,000 times 6, so that's the 4 kids and the parents, that's $360,000 per year in income. Let's take inflation out of the equation in order to make that simple. Let's also assume that none of them ever get a pay raise again. Another unrealistic assumption, but it makes the example even better. So without inflation, $360,000 per year for 10 years is $3.6 million. That's just the amount of money the family earns in a decade. Many of our people work for 50 years. So if you multiply 3.6 million times 5, you get $18 million. So yes, your family's labor is a multi-million-dollar asset. What's even worse is that this is simply the amount of money corporations pay you for your labor. Okay? Chances are that if they are paying you $60,000 per year, they are earning twice that amount from the value you're adding to the company. So as women, sometimes we find it hard to charge our true value. Anybody ever had that issue before? Like, you're like, oh, it's no way I could charge $5,000 for my coaching, right? Or it's no way I could possibly charge $20,000 for my services, right? But people do it every day. So we have to make sure that we are actually charging our value. All right. So if you double the $18 million number, this means that the typical Black family with 4 children is worth a whopping $36 million in labor alone. So you and your siblings were born millionaires. Woo, that's a whole concept. You just didn't stick together so you could collect the money. That is crazy. You did not, because we didn't stick together and we didn't have a family business or whatever have you, or we didn't have a family collective where we invested. Basically, our money was dispersing because it wasn't working together as a unit. Like they say, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go farther, go together. I hope I said that right. Yeah. If you want to go farther, go together. Why is this example important? Well, it's important because when you raise all of your children to go work for other people, you're giving away millions of dollars in wealth to your oppressor. By not creating your own business and developing your own economic infrastructure, you're allowing others to steal your wealth the same as if they were drilling for oil in your backyard. This is why having a Black business mentality is so critical for our families. If every Black family in America had a B1 or us first economic mindset, they wouldn't automatically send their children to serve other people and their businesses. Instead, they would keep the wealth internal and build something together. But building together requires a lot of tools and skills that some of our families lack, which is yet another reason why we must educate our own children. And Nzinga, I know, is doing that. I know Jen is doing that. And so Jen, I know we're at our 30-minute mark, so we'll definitely finish chapter 1 next week. We're on page 20. Let me put my bookmark over here I try not to read ahead again. But Jen, if you would like to share your business with Jen, she has a national Black-owned business directory. Please drop your information in the chat so she can get that, if you don't mind sharing it, like a way she can contact you that's like public. And she said her dad and his siblings grew up in the South and had to pick cotton before school. Yep. Totally understand that. Awesome. Well, please use this platform. We'll be back here next week, same time, same place. I'll be back in Brooklyn. And if you want to grab a copy of the book, let me put that link in the chat for you all. Let's see, we got some new comments. Yes, go farther, go together. That's what I'm talking about, Doriel. Go farther, go together. And so we have to bring that trust factor in to our back into our lives. So this is, I hope this link works. I was trying to get it out of my link tree. So I believe this is the link to the book. Let's see, there we go. Oh, but it didn't hyperlink. So let's see if I can make it a hyperlink. You might just have to copy it. It's kind of weird. If not, you can always just send me a text message here. I'll put the number on the screen for you all. You can send a text message. You can say I'm in to 855-718-2018. And you can text I'm in. And then you could just, I can send you the link to the book. So this number will reach me, and it'll also give you reminders about the YouTube. Also, if you do live in the NYC area on June 21st, I'm having a book launch. So I will drop that link in the chat as well. It won't be a link. I just realized that. It'll probably just be where you have to copy and paste it. I haven't figured out how to do that yet. But essentially, the book club, Dr. Boyce's book club was canceled. Okay, well, Natasha, should I just keep on going and finish chapter 1? Natasha is we typically have another book club after this. Okay, let's see. That didn't work. Let's try it again. Okay, there it is. So this is for the link I just dropped in the chat. That is for my book launch, which is happening June 21st in Brooklyn. In Manhattan. So there, if you would like to come, then join us. Okay, so we're going to finish chapter 1. I know some people may have to go. They've been sitting in on Zoom for a long time, but we'll finish chapter 1 since our normal book club is scheduled. Oh, thank you, Olympia, for ordering my book. I appreciate it. I hope you enjoy it. Let me know your feedback. I did self-publish, y'all, so let me tell you. You know what? It's not as perfect as I would like it to be. Can you add the link to the description to maybe we can edit the video posting? Link to the description. Oh, which link, Nzinga? Oh, I see what you're saying. The links that I'm sharing. Got it. Yes, I can add the links to the description afterwards. Thank you for making that recommendation. Yes, I typically go back and I did not remember to do that. Okay, perfect. Well, since some of us are still here, I will just take a few more minutes and we'll finish up chapter 1, and then we'll be on commandment number 2 next week. So that way we'll be finished. Okay. So trust is critical for the building of healthy economic relationships so that no one ends up feeling violated. Trust is critical for any economic system. Most transactions require trust from all parties involved. This isn't just true for economics, it's also true for love. Imagine two people trying to have a loving relationship when both of them have been too traumatized to trust other people. In a relationship without trust, both parties expect the other to hurt them. If you expect someone to hurt you, guess what? That's what it's going to be. You aren't going to be open and giving. Instead, you're going to be closed off and retentive. As a result, the other parties pick up on your negative energy and ends up returning the favor. So I always tell people, focus on what you want. Both parties lack the durability to be a healthy couple and will run for the hills at the first sign of trouble. Before long, you have two closed off, scared, easily triggered, and retentive people trying to form the connections necessary to develop a loving, lasting relationship. This relationship won't work because there's a lack of reciprocity, and fear ultimately becomes the dominant emotion driving the relationship. The same thing is true for an economic relationship. When the US economy is filled with fear, resources aren't shared and investments aren't made. So let me know in the chat what has happened to your financial decisions when you're filled with fear. Like if you've ever heard something in the news, and have you ever had that experience where you're like, oh no, I got to sell, I got to get out of this investment. Let me know if anyone has ever had that type of experience in the chat. If you feel comfortable sharing, this is definitely a safe space. We can't see the chat afterwards. The same thing is true for an economic relationship. When the U.S. economy is filled with fear, resources aren't shared, and investments aren't made. People and companies stop doing business with each other out of fear of being swindled or harmed. Banks stop making loans, consumers stop buying products, and companies stop making investments. Actually, Miss Virginia and I were just talking about this today. She knows someone that basically cheated someone out of something, like literally said they were going to do some work on the home and didn't do it. Exactly, in Zynga. So you go into fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. So those are the four responses, right? You react or you freeze, right? You either start running for your dear life, you freeze, like because you're shocked, you don't know what to do, you fawn, or you start fighting. So those are typical reactions. Absolutely. I'll repeat this. I probably said it already. But banks stop making loans, consumers stop buying products, and companies stop making investments. So what happens? The stock market plummets, right? The entire economy freezes to a halt when economic fear is in the air. This is the case with Black people because our oppressors have spent 400 years training us to be afraid of one another. We consistently find ourselves traumatized by people who are supposed to be our own teammates. In my travels, I consistently run into siblings, cousins, and even spouses who have a tremendous amount of fear, stress, and anger about the mere mention of working together. Black wealth is lost by the trillions when we are unable to form healthy relationships. This then leads us to trust strangers more than we trust ourselves. Because I know I've heard people say, oh, I don't support Black owned businesses. They were like, oh, they don't have good customer service. I was like, that's not true. You can't stereotype every business. Okay, F, we're almost done. The reason geese run in flocks, you protect the weakest link, but you never want to always be the weakest link in your family. And I know that's none of us here. One of the most damaging trends I've noticed in our community is the Eurocentric idea of rugged individualism. And I know Virginia had mentioned bootstrapping earlier. I saw it somewhere earlier in the chat. That is definitely something that I know I've been taught. Let me speak for myself. For some reason, we've been convinced that we can build wealth and be a competitive community without having the support of a family or some other group that serves to strengthen us. To think that you can build wealth in a community full of single mothers and single fathers is like believing you can win a football game with just a quarterback. So family is crucial, y'all. Family, building in a family is crucial. Absolutely, Jen. We need to have an abundance mindset. Black people must re-embrace the concept of family in order for us to become economically successful or powerful. Part of the family unit is the concept of the weakest link. Every team has a weakest link and a strongest link. While it's not a sin to be the weakest link in your family, you always want to make sure you're adding value whenever possible. An example of a damaging weakest link would be the relative who borrows money and doesn't pay it back, or the man who makes babies and doesn't take care of them. The weakest link might also be the woman with a shopping addiction who piles up spending and debt without any concern for the future. I've been guilty, okay? Definitely guilty. I was like, oh, I'll just make more money. Yes, Jen, absolutely. We need to support each other, build community, and leave our families financially liberated. And again, that's why I wanted to establish this community of women who are not afraid to talk about money, but also we have we make value-centered decisions, right? Because women by nature, again, in addition to being givers, we're also naturally collaborative, right? Like, we're the ones meeting up with our girlfriends and talking about things and doing things as a collective. All of these behaviors can be damaging because if the weak individual is part of a larger family unit, the family must consistently compensate for the behavior of those who aren't pulling their weight. This inability to add value is one of the reasons that unions break up. For example, the European Economic Union was a multi-trillion-dollar entity in which several European countries agreed to have each other's backs. This meant that they allowed for open trade with one another, had a common currency, and will bail each other out in the event of financial trouble. However, the union struggled. One of the biggest reasons for its problems involved its weakest link, the country of Greece. Wow. So this was also mind-blowing to me when I read it. Greece was similar to the crazy cousin in your family who creates a long list of financial problems and then expects the family to bail him out. What? Thank you, Deborah, for understanding. The country of Greece had very little financial discipline, massive amounts of debt, out of control spending, and a complete unwillingness to raise taxes. Wow, y'all, right? This was a recipe for disaster. Eventually, the economically strong country of England chose to leave the European Union after growing weary of constantly bailing out the country of Greece in every financial crisis. The situation between Greece and the European Union is common in many families around the world. We have relatives who were never taught any sense of responsibility to those they love. They only know how to take and nothing about how to give. So please, if you all have kids, teach them how to give. Now, again, as ladies, as natural givers, we have to learn how to use wisdom also too when we are giving. Because just because we can doesn't always mean we should. Do not raise your children to think this way. People who take and never give are a liability to their families and a disappointment to their children. Men who behave in this way are predatory. And women who think like this become dead weight. It is hard enough to survive and prosper in a racist society without having loved ones who are of adult age but still think like children. All right, ladies, thank you for those who stuck in with me. That was chapter 1, commandment number 1, which is always be an asset to your family. So I am an action taking type of person. So in your journals, if you have them handy, please make sure that you take some time tonight, maybe if you have some time to reflect and ask yourself, you might already know this, how are you an asset to your family? How are you an asset to your family? Are you teaching your kids? Are you investing for your future? Are you sharing wisdom? What is it that you're doing that is being an asset to your family? So thank you for joining me. Thank you for staying a little bit over. I know we went over, but we got through chapter 1. Next week, we'll be on commandment number 2. And I look forward to seeing you all next week. Thanks again for coming. Good night, everyone.